two guys with no education living in a trailer, sifting through leaves on their floor.
Yeah.
Barely graduating high school are making $1 million a year 5 years later to owning this incredible business. I mean, if that doesn't get you pumped up,
right,
I don't know what will.
Thomas Roach, Director of Marketing with Senior Life Insurance Company. We're in the beautiful home office in Thomasville, Georgia. And like always, we are all fired up. We have a very special guest, a very good friend of mine, straight out of New England, straight out of Boston, my friend Josh. Josh, what's going on, man?
What's up? How are you?
I'm doing good. How are you today?
Great. Super pumped.
I kind of we talked to Dan yesterday, and we kind of ended his podcast with this question. So I'm going to start it with yours. So
sure.
Boston is way up in the Northeast. We're in Thomasville, Georgia, which is about 30 minutes from Tallahassee, Florida. And now Tom Brady is going to be playing in Tampa, Florida, about 3 or 4 hours from here. What are your personal feelings about that?
Well, I'm a TB12 fan.
All right.
So, he was with us for 20 years, brought us 6 championships.
Right.
Tough to be mad at anything he does. If the Patriots wanted him bad enough, he would have still been in New England.
Absolutely.
And new chapters with everyone, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, is never a bad thing.
Right.
So I wish him nothing but the best. The other thing is the only time we would play Tampa Bay is in the Super Bowl.
Right.
So if we do see Tom Brady this year, I won't be too upset because it means we'll be in the Super Bowl again.
There you go.
So yeah, no.
Also something to do whenever you come visit, because like I said, it's just a car ride away.
That's right.
That's something you could always do when you're here. So kind of help me out. Remind me, we've talked before, and I've known you for a long time now. How long have you been with Senior Life?
So I've been with Senior Life a little over 3 years now.
And what were you doing before that?
So I had been in the insurance business now going on a little bit over 10 years. So I was with, doing in the final expense business prior to this with one company for about 7 years. And speaking of change, change is always good.
Right.
And I hope Tom Brady has as much success as I have had with my change coming here. So it's been great.
What's been the difference, though? Because, you seem extremely happy here at Senior Life. What's been the difference? Because, you were there for 7 years.
Yep.
I assume there was some happiness previously. But,
there was.
But what would make you want to make that change to begin with after being with the company that long?
To be honest, I thought I would have been at that where I was forever. But like anything, personnel changes. And as you grow, you want different things, right? In life, what I wanted, when I graduated college is different than I wanted 10 years ago, which is different than I wanted today.
Yeah.
And that was the position that I was in there. I wanted, I reached a certain point, and I really reached the point where that was as far as you could go there.
I gotcha.
The country was kind of protected everywhere, and I was stuck in a little tiny, circle up in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
And then there's this big giant country that, no matter what you did, you couldn't do anything.
I gotcha.
And really, keeping your options open, talking to people. I met, our good friend Robert Shiver and
old Bobby, old Rob,
old Rob Shiver, and came down and met Ron, and it's kind of been a dream position since then. A lot of companies, you are strictly a number, right? There's no personalized anything.
Right.
I was with that company for 7 years. I met the president, let's say. I actually never met the president of that company. Was there 7 years? I was probably in the top 12, 15 of that company. I never met the president of that company. I met the owner of that company one time in 7 years. Fast forward to here, I almost feel like I'm part of the family since like day one.
Right.
Starting with everyone from Ron and Dale, to Robert, all the way down, you know what I mean, to you, to everyone I've ever met here. You walk into this home office, you feel like you're home. Maybe that's because you guys are so much nicer down here in the South than we are, New England.
Right.
No, but seriously, I mean, that's really one of the big things. Happiness. Everyone wants to make money, right?
Yeah.
I love making money.
Right.
I really do.
Right.
But I mean, it comes to a point where your work-life balance, your happiness of what you're doing, what you want to achieve, what you want to accomplish, what you want to become,
right,
has to take precedence over. I could sit back at that other company and still have made a great amount of money, a great living, and been mad, been resentful that I couldn't do this or I couldn't do that,
right.
And coming here, and like I said, that family environment, always being someone who was a family first kind of guy.
Yeah.
Like I said, I came back from here and I told my wife, I found our forever home. She's like, we're moving to Georgia? And I'm like, no.
Right.
And I said, no, new company. And she's like, oh, good. Phew. No, I'm just
But like, how did it really resonate with you coming in and meeting Ron and meeting Robert? Like, how does that affect you in the very beginning? And then how does that affect you now?
So it affected me in a lot of ways. So, I think everyone has their own kind of buttons to push, right?
Right.
Whether you're recruiting, whether you're talking to someone, whether you're, renting a car,
right.
When I came in here, I rented a car.
Yeah.
And there was a nice older lady at the budget rent-a-center or whatever.
Right.
And I was like, her name was Lois. I'll never forget it because my aunt's name was Lois. And I'm like, Lois, I've been in quarantine up in Massachusetts. I'm like, you got any convertibles? And she goes, let me check for you. So she calls in. She's like, I don't have a convertible, but I got a brand new red Mustang.
That was you in the parking lot. Okay.
She's like, why don't you take that? And I'm like, great.
Right.
You know what I mean? Everyone has those little push buttons. And certainly whether Ron and Robert knew it, they knew what my kind of push buttons were.
I got you.
And a few of those things were, the platform that I was looking for, a repeatable way of doing business, right, is something that we have here at Senior Life. Not only that, the ability to build and grow and not be pigeonholed into a certain mold.
Right.
Hey, this is your business. We want to help you succeed in growing your business, right?
Right.
This isn't, come work for me and I'm your boss and I'm going to threaten you or do this or do that.
Right.
It's, hey, we're excited that you want to be part of this. You know what I mean? So it makes you want to be part of that.
Right.
And I came down here, I'd met with a few different companies and I came down here and, with, feeling like I was going to be interviewing, Robert and Ray. I didn't even know I was going to meet Ron, to be honest, and say, hey, what can you do for me? What can you do for me? And by the end of it, I was like, man, it has nothing to do with that. It's what can I do? What can I bring to the table for this company?
Right.
And work together as partners. And that's really what it's all about, as a partnership.
Yeah. But how does that continue to stick? Being here 3 years, y'all played golf today and hung out. I think y'all are going to go fishing tomorrow. Yep. And, at the same time, you guys were down to a lot of business, had a lot of meetings and things. So how does that, the family atmosphere and the love that Ron and Robert showed you in the very beginning, how does that continue? I mean, you've been here 3 years. Does that continue? Like, what does it mean to you now?
It does. I mean, everyone likes recognition, right?
Right.
There's nothing better than, popping your head into Ron's office and him being like, the president, owner, CEO of a huge company.
Right.
You pop your head in and say hello, and he knows everything about you and says, hey, Josh, man, I'm so proud of you. You're doing so good. Your group's awesome. I can't believe you guys did this and that. And this. That stuff goes a long way.
Yeah.
And that's something that I take, pride in within our group here at Senior Life. There's nothing better than, for so long, I remember people said, I want to be a manager. And I hate the term manager.
Right.
We want to develop leaders,
Yeah.
That's the nice part about this is, you can change someone's life in an instant.
Right.
And hearing, Ron's story, that resonated with me, that resonates with people.
Yeah.
At such in a short period of time, if you follow this system, and again, we're not patting people on the back and saying, go get them. We want to help you.
Right.
We have a huge ability here to do that.
Yeah.
One of the other things that really drove me to this company is, again, I had aspirations. I didn't want to just be an agent, right? Mm-hmm. I wasn't an agent. I was an agency owner, building, growing, and developing people.
Yeah.
The platform that we have here at Senior Life is like nothing I've seen. And to be honest, it's a kudos to you and your team.
Oh, thank you.
I'm being totally honest. That's the first thing that we talked about was about marketing, was about recruiting, was about building and growing. And the resources that we have here at Senior Life available to us to help do that.
Right.
To me, that's the hugest aspect of this. When I first started in this, they said, "Oh, you want to build a team? Great. Here's your contract. Go do it." And I said, "Yes."
Right.
And I hung up the phone and I went, "All right, how do I recruit people?" And now I'm trying to figure out how to, pay for my own this or pay for my own that, or drum up business or recruit from my friends and family. You know what I mean? Just trying to figure it all out.
Right.
The beauty about here is you don't have to figure that out. And you can have real conversations with other leaders. You can have a real conversation with Ron Powell and talk to him about growth.
Yeah.
You can have a real conversation with Robert and talk to him about growth. It's not us against them here.
Yeah.
I can call, another regional vice president.
Yeah, definitely.
Who I'm friends with.
Yeah.
A Lewis or a Rob or a Doug who you've all had on here. And we can talk about stuff and brainstorm about stuff. It's not, me against you all the time. It's, hey, we all have this goal together.
Right.
Let's share some ideas and blow this thing up.
And what does that mean to you personally to be able to call Doug? Because, people have expressed even on this podcast that other companies, people in similar roles, it being so competitive, it's almost like an enemy kind of thing. Whereas Doug and you are on the same level within the company, and you guys can call each other and hash things out and throw around ideas and things like that. What does that mean to you personally?
It's huge. I mean, to me, I'm a very positive person, right?
Yes.
I mean, stuff really rolls off my shoulders. I don't really dwell on negativity. And where I was before, that was their MO, right? That was their management style was do this or you're fired. Do this or we're going to cut your contract. Do this or that. You know what I mean? If I catch you talking to another, person at our incentive trips, you're fired. That was how it is. So to come here and it be a breath of fresh air and be able to share ideas and to build and grow. And don't get me wrong, do we have friendly rivalries and things like that? Yeah. Of course, but that's all in kind of the good fun.
Right.
I could pull up my phone right now and call any of those guys right now. They could call me anytime and they do and ask different things. And, and it's collaborative.
Definitely.
I mean, especially, Doug actually said it perfectly. As a stock owner here, I hope he does great because that makes me more money. You know what I mean? I hope Rob does great because it makes us all more money. And that's a nice piece of the pie to have.
But even thinking about that, like a lot of companies don't necessarily offer stock ownership. How has that helped you? How is that a game changer for you as well?
Again, I'm in this for the long-term goal, right? So, I went to school. My life was probably going to be a completely different avenue than where it turned out to be.
Right.
And school is a fantastic thing, 4-year college, the whole 9 yards, but it's not for everyone, right?
Yeah.
I had a lot of friends whose parents owned businesses, construction companies, this, that, and the other thing.
Right.
And again, they wanted them to go to college, but if you weren't the college type of a person, you had somewhere where you could start your career, right?
Yeah.
I always wished I had that.
Right.
And so one of my driving forces, I have 3 kids. I wanted to be able to build something long-term that would be generational, that my kids could then, if they wanted to, come here and do this.
Right.
Now, am I telling them I don't want you to go to college? No, absolutely not. I do. But again, life takes turns and twists and everyone's different. And so to be able to build something, like I said, generationally, that's what it's all about.
So tell me about because, they always say, and Robert Shiver says this in some of our meetings and stuff, like nobody says as a kid that they want to grow up to be an insurance agent.
Nope.
Like nobody. It's always I want to be a police officer, a fireman, professional wrestler, or something wild, But nobody ever really says I want to be, an insurance agent. So kind of like at a young age, what were your ideas and aspirations?
I actually went to school to be a firefighter.
Okay.
Oddly enough, I have a degree in fire science. I mean,
okay.
I took all the state exams and I was waiting to get on a fire department.
Oh, wow.
I interviewed and did all that stuff, and you're on a waiting list.
Yeah.
And, kind of when your time comes, you join the force.
Mm-hmm.
At that time, that sounded really great to me. You work 2 days on.
Mm-hmm.
You have 4 days off.
Yeah.
I was like, man, that sounds incredible.
Right.
I get 6-day weekends some days, some weeks.
Yeah.
But as I was kind of waiting to get on the force, I got into kind of selling mortgages randomly.
Okay.
And then kind of that, you're 25, 26 years old, and all of a sudden you're making a whole bunch of money. And,
yeah.
And then your time comes they say, okay, you're ready to join the fire department. And I said, great, what's the salary? And they said, $32,000. I said, ooh.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know.
Right.
And again, nothing to get started. I have a lot of firefighter friends. It's fantastic.
Right.
But again, it's just, your life takes different turns. And that's when I kind of got into the whole financial, field. Went from being in mortgages to running a $100 million branch at for a mortgage company.
Right.
Then I was a vice president at a bank when, kind of the crash happened.
Yeah.
And from there, and again, in the back of my mind, I always wanted to be my own business owner. And I was sitting in my office at the bank one day, and I got a call from the regional vice president that said, they brought me on to increase sales, right, at this bank. And I got a call from the regional vice president saying, I've gotten some complaints from some of the bankers at your branch that you're making them feel bad because they feel like you're selling too much. So I'm going to have to ask you to, maybe step back a little bit. And I said, are you really telling me to not sell?
Right.
And from then, within probably 2 months, I kind of blew out of there, started my own financial company. With aspirations to doing all kinds of things. And to be honest, when I found this final expense niche, all my business probably within 12 months focused solely on this. And it's been the best thing ever for 10 years.
Do you think Ron or Robert would ever tell you not to sell as much?
No. I tell people that story sometimes and they're like, what? And I'm like, I'm not lying.
Right.
And I would sell stuff and give it to the bankers, and they would be like, "Oh, like I was trying to make them look bad." I'm like, "No, we're supposed to increase." Yes, I'm like, "Yeah, I just gave you a $200,000 mortgage. Go write it up."
So, with that in mind, with wanting to be a firefighter and being somebody with a more, I guess, blue collar kind of background, selling insurance, getting a final expense can be very scary for some people. Especially if they work more blue collar stuff, if they worked with their hands or worked in restaurants or things like that. So what do you tell to somebody like, with a similar background to what you had about maybe making that transition into sales for final expense?
I'll tell you the same thing I tell every person when they're making choices in life, right?
Yeah.
The biggest thing is make sure that you know what you're getting into and be ready to work.
Okay.
I find so many people get it and want to be their own boss or start their own business or do this because they think that it's easy. Oh, I get to play golf or do this every day.
Right.
And, the money just pours in. And the reality of it is, when you're not working for someone else and you're working for you, you're not building something for someone else, you're building it for you.
Right.
You work twice as hard. And the people that figure that out are the ones that are successful with this.
Right.
And it doesn't matter, about what your background is. I mean, we've hired, people who are construction workers. We've hired, cashiers.
Right.
We've hired waitresses and wait staff, bartenders.
Right.
The key to anything, and especially in this business, is just being, number one, personable.
Yeah.
Number two, genuine.
Yeah.
I actually liked what I did. My big thing when I got into this is I don't want to take advantage of anyone. Where it came from, from that financial side, it was so big on compliance, about predatory lending or this, that, and the other thing. And I remember when I first started doing final expense, I was like, is this really it? I mean, are we doing something wrong?
Right.
Like, and then I had the first time I ever trained in Chicago, the second sale I ever saw, the woman literally cried and hugged the agent and was like, I feel so much better. And I was going, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't wait to get back to Boston because this is gonna be on.
So selling final expense, is it hard?
No.
Is it even easier with Senior Life?
It is.
Why?
A few things. I will tell you that this business is easy.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easy business.
Right.
But it's hard in the same breath. What we do is we make this dummy proof. Mm-hmm. I can hand anyone our Slice application, our technology. Yeah. Anyone not knowing one thing about this and say, read me these questions.
Yeah.
And they'll be able to get all the way down to quoting me a price.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's that foolproof. So it's very easy, but in the same breath, it's difficult because the difficult part is you have to be motivated. You have to get up every day. The one thing I tell people all the time is I can show you exactly what to do that will change your life forever. The one thing I can't do is make you get out of bed every morning.
Right.
You know, this isn't a W-2 position where you have to be in the office at 8 a.m. and your lunch is at noon, your break's at 3:45.
Right.
If you're going to sleep till 10, you're going to sleep till 10. You know, if you're going to be up at 8, knocking on doors at 9, you know, then we have something to work with.
Yeah.
So it's all about that self-motivation and what you want to accomplish. The platform that we have here is so duplicatable that, you know, two guys with no education living in a trailer, sifting through leads on their floor, you know, barely graduating high school are making $1 million a year, 5 years later to owning this incredible business. I mean, if that doesn't get you pumped up,
right,
I don't know what will.
Yeah, I mean that's I mean exactly with Ron's beginnings being so humble, and he did it with the same system. You know, I think a lot of it he did help perfect. Yeah. And of course, making it easier and better is on his mind every single day. But I mean, just what he's achieved and what he's built for everybody. For you, like, what are your goals for your agency, for your business? What are your goals? Just kind of, I guess, short term. Short-term goals. My goal every day is to change someone's life. Okay. Right. So we talk to, you know, within our group, we have some incredible leaders. You know, we have two incredibly strong women, Jill and Michelle up in New England, who are just absolutely killing it. Obviously, Dan, who is, you know, my right-hand man, to be perfectly honest, who is just incredible. He and I brainstorm on a daily basis, along with all of our leaders. I mean, Drew, Gary up in Chicago, you know, we're big in the Latino and Spanish markets with Hector. Who's incredible down in Texas and moving around. So, I mean, we have a lot of kind of legs, and it's all about communication, working together, talking, changing lives. So within that kind of, you know, umbrella, you know, on a daily basis, we are talking to so many people who are begging for opportunities here. And there's no better feeling than taking for someone who's like, I can barely, you know, pay the fee to join the company to, you know, fast forward 6 months, and you know they made, you know, $15,000 this month, and they're like, you know, you know, Josh, what, you know, what's going on in my checking account? I'm like, that's what I'm talking about, you know. So I mean, that's kind of my short-term goal on a daily basis, from a business standpoint. Obviously, you know, I played sports my whole life. I'm a pretty competitive person, you know. I do like to be, you know, number one. And that's certainly my long-term goal, as with anything. Absolutely. But again, being number one doesn't necessarily mean that I am the, you know, highest producing agency at Senior Life. You know, there's lots of different layers of being number one. You know, being the best father I can be, being the best husband I can be, being the best at what I do on a daily basis. You know, helping people on a daily basis. And that really starts with our clients, prolongs into our agents. And we really try to find people who have that model. You know, like I said, that first, you know, second appointment I ever saw when that person cried and hugged him, that's when you knew that I was in the right spot. Because you're actually helping someone. This is a feel-good sale. And, you know, if you find people who believe in that, you know, the rest is easy. I mean, Senior Life, I mean, we could talk about Senior Life and what we offer all day long because there's no company that even comes close to it. None. With the technology we have, the lead distribution that we have, I mean, legacy, I mean, and we can talk about all that stuff.
But I mean, that stuff we're way up here.
Yeah.
So now it's finding those people who can see that and believe that, and want to run with you, who want to hop in line and get in the race and really just start taking it to a next level. And that's the part that's exciting for me on a short term and a long term.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody you just mentioned who definitely seems like they have their eye on that goal and that prize, and who's been absolutely killing it. How'd you find Hector? Like, what's the story? Because I don't know Hector too well. Yeah. I'm not exactly sure how long he's been with us. It hasn't been too long, but how did you find him? Because he is pretty incredible.
He is. I did a seminar in Dallas, Texas, probably 2 years ago.
Right.
Maybe even more, 2.5 years ago. He came to the seminar. We spoke. He is fluent in Spanish. Speaks pretty good English. Right. Speaks a lot better English now than when I first met him. Right. Certainly, but no. But I mean, he was. He kind of pulled me aside and told me what he wanted to do. The number one agent at this company for a lot of years. Yeah. Is Latino in that same area of Texas. And he's like, "Hey, do you know who this person is?" I said, "Yep." He said, "Are you gonna say his name? You afraid to say his name?" No, I'll say his name. Javier. I mean, Javier is the man,
the Godfather.
The Godfather still is. Yeah. But he said to me, he pulled me aside. He said, "You know Javier?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "I want to be the next Javier." I said, "Great."
Yeah.
He said, "Perfect.
Right.
Come over here.
Yeah.
Let me buy you lunch."
Right.
So we sat down, and he kind of came on board. He was with us for a little while, did some great things. And like anything, life kind of takes you like this. Yeah. And it kind of took Hector like this.
I got you.
I think sometimes that we all think, the grass is always greener until you get on the lawn and you see all the imperfections, you know what I mean?
Right.
And he had called me back up about a year ago and said, "Hey, look, Josh, you're right. I've been around now. I got to kind of see what's out there, and senior life's kind of where I want to be. Can we please, start over?"
Right.
And I said, "Sure." So I flew down and we sat down again and we kind of went through the whole thing. And ever since then, he's been up here with us at the home office, doing some incredible things
right.
On the Spanish side for marketing.
Yeah.
And he said to me last night, he goes, "Josh, last time I was here, I didn't feel like there was, a Spanish or Latino culture, and coming back, I really feel like I'm part of this culture now. I feel like I'm part of the team."
Absolutely.
And different people need different things at different times.
Yeah.
And maybe I failed him at that time. But the reality of it is, now that he's back and we kind of brought him in that kind of inner circle, it builds people up, it lifts them up, and he is excited. You watch out for him.
Yeah.
Mean, he is, he's awesome. Forget about what he writes personally. The guy's an incredible, producer, but he really wants to. He told me last night too. He's like, "I'm going to be here. This is my last stop." I said, "Great." So people like that, you never close doors on people. My father always said, "Don't burn bridges." You know, and we always tell people, keep the doors open, because like everything, life comes back around in circles.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what it kind of did with Hector.
Yeah.
And he is a force.
Absolutely. So. Absolutely. You have been recruiting a lot so your career here. You've always done that. And it seems like there is definitely gas has been on the fire.
Sure.
So what would you attribute that to?
Again, the biggest thing, for me, for anyone who watches this, who has a higher aspiration than just being a field agent or a telesales agent, right? This is where it's at. And again, I know this interview, you're supposed to be interviewing me, but the marketing department here at Senior Life is incredible. What we just did here in the last few days with, filming, Facebook recruiting ads, Facebook promotional videos, doing television commercials. I talked to the guys and I said, what we just did here, if you were to hire an outside company to do this, would have been thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah.
Right? This is all part of the game.
Yeah. Absolutely.
We're building you sustainable platforms that you can go out and build and grow your agency.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes me like, giddy thinking about it because it's crazy. And if you're the type of person that wants to talk to people, that wants to help people, that wants to build people up, not tear them down, this is the place for you. And we have, what no one else has.
Yeah.
No other company is going to let you fly down and be like, oh yeah, come on down. We'll film a ton of stuff for you. We'll set aside days of our time and do whatever you want to do. And then we'll edit it for you and we'll overlay it and we'll do this and we'll do that. It's shocking.
Yeah.
I mean, if people are watching this and that is what you want, this is where you want to be. And if you don't do it, you're missing the boat.
There it is. Shouts out to Shanna and Dom are actually in the room right now, our videographers. Also, Jeremy, who's on our team, assisted you guys this week as well. They do a fantastic job.
Yes.
They're shooting this right now. So this is just, another thing that they've done. So definitely thank you guys because having them on the team, we're extremely blessed.
It's us. And Bruno, I mean, Ken,
Yes.
I mean, you guys are incredible. I mean, anything I call up. I mean, I said, hey, man, with all this Corona stuff going on, I'm like, I'd really love to get some, like, masks made.
Yeah.
Next thing I know, I got a Senior Life mask insurance agent on it. I said, boom, I love that, and now we get agents going out there. Guess what? Everyone knows why someone's knocking on your door. So, I mean, just little things like that are game changers. Because, like I said, when I started, it was a pat on the back, and you want to build a team, go ahead. Here, especially with, now me doing this for 10 years, I can help with that stuff.
Yeah.
We all can help with that. All of our leaders can help with it. Senior Life can help with that.
Absolutely.
I mean, when one of our agents calls and says, hey, can you make me an ad for Facebook? It's not like, I'm calling them going, how dare you call the home office? It's like, yes, great job,
Right.
let's do this.
Absolutely.
Here's some of the ones that I've done. Let me know what you think about this stuff. So it's really collaborative. It's building people up, like I said, not bringing them down.
Yeah, definitely. One of your biggest supporters, and I guess it would be fair to say this person is your boss overall, I guess is a good way to put it. But she has been very supportive of your entire journey. Kind of tell me about, especially early on with Senior Life, how much your wife has worked with you and helped you.
So, my wife is incredible. Julie, we have 3 kids, 2 boys, a little girl named Ruby. And kind of she is not only the backbone of our family, but she does a lot to help with what we do at my agency.
Yes.
She helps with our recruiting stuff. She deals with our CRM stuff, our back end office. She's designed our web pages. I mean, she's done a lot of cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I mean, the joke with her, I mean, she is tunnel vision. If you say, hey, I was thinking about doing this, and the next thing you know, she's up till 2 in the morning going, da-da-da-da-da-da. I mean, she's a force of nature, and she is awesome.
Yeah.
And not only that, at the beginning, this is something that she kind of started doing with me, here at Senior Life, because our kids were super young when I was at our last place. So, when we kind of came over here, I said, look, this is a different animal. I said, and I'd really like you to be a little bit more involved with this. Not that I wanted her to come work or anything like that, but just be a part of what this is and this kind of ride that we're all on. Yeah. And certainly she is very close with Robert's wife, Lindsay, and things like that. And so again, it goes back to that whole family environment thing.
Definitely.
She comes into the office, our agents know her, they can call her with stuff. Certainly she does different things than I do. But I mean, she's awesome.
Absolutely. I met Julie. You had been with the company for a short period, and you had already talked to Shiver about growing. And I think it was like your first or second seminar ever with the company, and then she was there. And and a lot of the leadership conferences, she travels with you. And I've seen her here at the home office all the time, and she's always just so wonderful, and just always a joy to talk to. And
she's bubbly and smiling.
Yes.
And fun. And I think the first one I ever did, Robert came up. She's like, I'll come down. She's like, who's going to be signing everyone in? I'm like, I'm just going to have a piece of paper out there. She's like, yeah, right. So she's down there and made it all look beautiful. She's out there. Good morning. What was your name? I mean, she's just, I'm the type of guy that stands up in the room and talks
Right.
and things like that. And I kind of forget about some of the little nuances of that stuff. And she's like, how do you not think about that? Like, let's put this plan over here. That looks way better. I'm like, all right.
I said, she's the boss.
She is certainly.
But definitely, she's so wonderful.
She is.
I love when she's around.
And we have a lot of. She is a strong, driven woman. And she doesn't take crap from anyone.
Right.
You know what I mean? And we have a lot of, throughout this whole company, women who are just absolutely crushing it.
Yes.
I feel like insurance used to be like the old boys club.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that it's not anymore.
Yeah.
We have some women, Jill and Michelle, and their whole team is predominantly women. And they are rock stars.
Absolutely.
And even, Jen and Bianca and Kiki and Joanne and some of the girls. Some of the women that are in this company, Sharnetta and Sharaka. Right. You can go on and on. People. Yeah. It's just so fantastic and so inclusive.
Right.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't matter.
Right.
That's the nice part about insurance.
It definitely, especially, it just comes down to the person.
Yeah.
How hard you're willing to work is the core of the human being, and their work ethic that determines their success. With that in mind and everything that we've talked about, what do you, for Riley Life Group, what's the future of that?
The future of Riley Life Group is growth.
Yeah.
And stability, right? And what we're really looking to do is to keep building on our foundation.
Yeah.
We're not looking for, contract collectors. We are not looking for brokers who want to add us as a line.
Right.
We're looking for people that want to change their lives.
Absolutely.
We're looking for people that want to grow with us, that want to stay with us. Because I will tell you, people who jump ship all the time, especially in the insurance business.
Right.
I talk to people all the time. I've been in the insurance business 20 years. 20 years, blah, 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 blah. And I said, great. I said, how much did you pay through last month? How much is your renewals last month?
Right.
What's that? I talk about that company I was with, for 7 years. I haven't been there in almost 4 years. I still get a big fat check from that company every single month.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's the beauty of staying with something.
Yeah.
And this company is on the rise. Even though we were incorporated in 1970, Ron and Dale bought it 20 years ago. To me, that's when Senior Life was born.
Yeah, definitely.
Right?
Definitely.
And in the world of insurance, we're babies.
Yeah.
You're getting in at the best time.
Absolutely.
You're like ground floor of Amazon right now.
Yeah.
And that's the exciting part. And so, to keep building on that foundation, keep adding legs to that table is really what we're kind of concentrated on.
Definitely.
Keep growing, keep getting better. I always try to get better. Our leaders try to get better.
Yeah.
And if we are better, that makes us better teachers for our agents.
Definitely.
And we're looking for people to come on board who want to work, who want to change their lives.
Definitely.
What more could you want, really?
What more could you want? Before we get out of here, I always try to give the guests a chance. Is there anything that you'd like to say? Anything we haven't touched on? Anything you want to say before we finish today?
Again, I have, when I came over here, I literally felt like there was a 100-pound weight lifted off my shoulder.
Yeah.
And I was free to it's like I was released into the wild. Oh my gosh. My ideas are going everywhere and everything, and reining that in and having the ability to have some leadership and have some mentors like Ron.
Yeah.
Look, everyone wants to be their own boss, right?
Yeah.
And that's really the thing that we want to promote.
Yeah.
Is that you don't have to be a follower. We can show you how to be a leader.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Well, I definitely appreciate you coming and hanging out with us today.
Yeah, man.
You still do owe me a game, whether it's football or the Red Sox or something. You still owe me that because you promised me that one of the last times I was in Boston.
If they ever open up the stadiums again, you're in.
I will definitely hold you to that. But you're always so wonderful to work with, and just beyond with the marketing department, working with your agency and everything, just knowing you, I'm just happy for that. I consider you a good friend of mine, and I'm always very grateful when you come to visit or when we come up there and see you. You're a great person, Josh, and I just really appreciate you.
Thanks, Thomas. I appreciate you guys too, more than anyone will know. So thank you guys so much.
There it is. Well, we appreciate you, and that concludes this episode. And like we say at the end of every one of them, it's senior life, all your life.